What's up, guys? It's Josh with TheCardGuyz, and today we're going to be going over my Season 5 Skirmish Blitz Dorinthea deck. I've taken this to several skirmishes. I've done very, very well. I've won one, and I've come in second at another one. I've played this deck for possibly 1,000 games at this point, so I'm very, very familiar with this deck, and this deck is extremely tight, extremely well-tuned. If you just want to know what the list is, and you can either want to jump into it or you don't want to hear all my reasoning and talking about the cards, here you go. There's the list. Have fun. For those of you that want to stick around, I will talk about the deck, and I'll talk about, for those of you who are Dorinthea players, I'll talk about why I chose a lot of these cards and why I didn't choose some cards. So yeah, I hope you, if you're still watching, I hope you guys find this interesting. All right, so the Reinhardt versus Dorinthea deck added 3 potential new cards for the deck: Glistening Steel Blade, Run Through, and Blade Flash. As you can see here, I'm only running the Glistenings and 1 Run Through. I do not have Blade Flash here. Reasoning being, Glistening Steel Blade is really, really powerful. Run Through is a yellow, and I really wanted to limit the amount of yellows that were in the deck. As you can see, there's no Iron Song determination here. That was on purpose because drawing multiple yellow cards kind of messes up your turn. And Blade Flash created a problem that there was too much go again, and the deck actually doesn't need Blade Flash. Rarely do you want to actually play your blues other than Glint, and I guess Epot. So yeah, there's no Blade Flash. It also blocks for 2. I'm not a huge fan of that. So yeah, eventually I landed on adding the Glistenings and the Run Through to the deck. So yeah, let's just go over the deck. I guess we'll go over the equipment first. This is so in the past, you were actually only using 9 of the slots. If you've watched some of my Dorinthea deck techs in the past, or you're a Dorinthea player, you will kind of notice that the Tunic and the Null Rune Boots are kind of new additions. These are for the Icelander matchup. You'll run the Tunic plus the Boots, the Hood, and the Gloves. Against Kano, you would run the Bolters and then AB3. Against the majority of the heroes, you're running the Fridge with the Skullcap, Bracers, Courage, and Bolters. And if you're playing against KO, you would bring in the Gambler's Gloves. I think even in the Runeblade matchups, I don't think it's correct to even run AB1. The game is really, really quick. So Viserai is not in Blitz anymore, so that's not even a concern. Briar doesn't do enough arcane damage, nor does Chain do enough arcane damage. And generally those matchups, you just need to put pressure on, so you don't want to be wasting a whole card defending. You'd rather just have the Skullcap in those 2 matchups. Of course, we're running Dawnblade here. Dawnblade Resplendent is for the CC Dory or for Quicksilver Prodigy. We do not need the other Dawnblade because we can handle Guardians well enough with our Fridge plus our attack reactions. We don't actually need the other Dawnblade. So yeah, that's the weapon and equipment. All right, so let's jump into the actual meat and potatoes here. Let's start with the attack reactions here. We run 2 red Iron Song response. I'll talk about the mana base later. So in terms of attack reactions, we have 2 red Iron Song response, 2 Out for Blood, 2 Stroke of Foresight, 2 Overpower, and a Rout. As our main pumps, we also have Singing Steel Blade and a Twinning Blade. So the Iron Song response, I've seen some people cut this to 1. I don't think that's correct. You get to a point in the game where people have to block so quickly in Blitz that I think it's absolutely nuts to cut one of these cards. They just allow for so much value with Singing Steel Blade into Iron Song response, or even something simple like Warrior's Valor into Iron Song response into Swing Again. Definitely running 2 copies. In CC, I could see a reason for going down to 2 or even one and putting the other one in the sideboard. But in Blitz, you get to a critical life threshold so quickly that these are just, you got to play both copies. Out for Blood, Stroke of Foresight. These are bread and butter cards. They cost 1, but they have nice effects. If you need to, you could also fish for these cards with Singing Steelblade if you need to. The double red overpower, I feel like with the Glistening Steelblade and the energy potions, so not every Dorinthea runs energy potions, but I really think this is important. The double overpower just gives you more muscle that you can use in combat. Oftentimes, if you just run one overpower, you actually, if you block with overpower and route, and you don't have a second overpower, you often run into the case where your options are very limited when you're grabbing attack reactions with Singing Steelblade, especially if you have an energy potion on the field. You really just want to keep your options open. So yeah, that's why I run 2 overpower instead of 1. Route, this is obviously a great card, but you only want to play it once. You only want to see it once in the game, so that's why we only play one of them. Run through, this is a one of. I talked about briefly how I wanted to minimize the number of yellows in the deck, and we were getting to a point where we just didn't need that much go again. With Bolters and Glistening Steelblade, there just really isn't a need for 2 copies of Run Through. The other attack reactions obviously is Singing Steelblade. This is a staple. This is a very, very powerful card. Oftentimes, if they blocked exact, you can go Singing Steelblade into Glint. Most decks, if they have defense reactions, are only playing Sink Below. So it's just 2 out of 40. So often just going up by 1 is enough. Finally, in terms of attack reactions, we have Twinning Blade. This card is an amazing card. It allows for massive blowouts with Singing Steelblade or Unconditional Go Again. Since Glistening Steelblade gives Unconditional Go Again, we're definitely going to be playing the Twinning Blade. This allows for a triple hit combo as well. And it's just a very, very important tech piece. However, we don't want to play 2 copies of this because generally we just need 1 copy. We're only going to be triple hitting once in the game, and if they overblock and you play Twinning Blade, that basically wins you the game. You don't need 2 copies of Twinning Blade. All right, so that's all the attack reactions. Obviously, there's Glint as well. This card's one of the best cards in the game. And now that Run Through and Blade Flash exists, you can just swing out with Dawnblade, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's Glint, right? So this card has actually gotten even better in the Season 5 metagame. Okay, so that's the attack reactions. Let's move on to the actions. Okay, I already talked about Glistening Steelblade. This card is amazing. Obviously, it requires some setup, and this may require setup plus your armor, depending on who you're playing against and what you draw. If you can ever get a hit with this active, you basically are in a very, very strong position, and if they don't kill you the next turn, you should have tempo throughout the game. Sharpened Steel, this is a card that has come back into the deck. I took this out, and I just feel like this card just helps the cost curve. It also makes cards like Glistening Steelblade more threatening. It makes cards like Supremacy more threatening. It just forces them to have more 3 blocks in their hand. If they are a deck that runs some 3 blocks and some 2 blocks, this card oftentimes can make things very, very awkward for them. And I think the deck just didn't feel right without this card, and I think there's a reason for that. When you attack for 9, things get much, much higher stakes than when you're attacking for 6. So yeah, we're going to play 2 Sharpened Steel here. We have, in terms of our go-agains, we have Spoils of War, Warrior's Valor. They basically function as the same thing, although Spoils of War does combo with things like Twinning Blade very nicely. anytime you play, these are kind of your heavy threats. These two cards, Supremacy and Glistening Steel Blade, these are your threats. Whenever you play one of these, you need to back it up with an attack reaction if possible. Yep. Finally, we have Steelblade Supremacy. This card is amazing. This is probably the #1 target for placing into Arsenal. The second would be Glistening Steelblade, I guess, and then Spoils of War, Warrior's Valor are also very, very good targets. Generally, I want to combine Steelblade Supremacy with my Courage Break and my Bolter's Break, especially if you draw Singing Steelblade. That turn becomes almost impossible to stop without a D-React. This card's amazing. I don't need to say much more about this card. All right, we have a few more oddball cards. Let's talk about each of them. We have two. I guess we'll go over the mana base later. We have a Nourishing Emptiness in the deck. This card is just good. I would not cut it. I would not switch it for CNC. I would not switch it for Flock. Now that you have Unconditional Go Again with Glistening as well, this card becomes even better because even if they overblock the first attack, as long as you have resources like an E-Pot or just extra blues in hand, you could follow up with Nourishing Emptiness, still get great value. Amazing card. We'll play one of those. The other specialty card that we have is Sink Below. I think this is very, very important in the current metagame. This card can win you the game by... In Blitz, generally you have one big turn. If you could stuff their big turn or their pivot turn, then you're generally in a very, very good position because then they're going to have to start blocking, and that's going to turn all your reprise things on. So Sink Below, why is this so good? Well, Guardians are part of the metagame. This helps you against their Crush effects, their Dominate effects, Pummel. This card is also very nice against Kasai. This will basically prevent her from getting Copper on a turn, or especially on a Spoils of War turn. Having a Sink Below is amazing. This card is also really, really nice against Reinhardt, who's also very, very strong right now. Having this in Arsenal means even if they strip 3 cards from your hand, you can still shut down things like Barraging Beatdown. And even in the mirror, this card is just amazing. Having this makes or breaks the mirror, basically. So yeah, that's why we're playing the Sink Below. In terms of our energy base, let's go over that really quickly. I really like E-Pot. This card, generally you don't want to be going first. A few matchups you're going to have to go first, like against Bravo, KO, Prism, things like that. So one of the best things that you can do on turn 1 is just play an E-Pot. So if you can play an E-Pot turn 1, you're in good shape. Also, now that you have Unconditional Go Again, E-Pot is stronger, and the deck blocks very well, so you can just triple block, play E-Pot is also fine. This card basically makes your Singing Steel Blades into absolute powerhouses, considering they can grab Overpower, Route, or whatever. This also gives you some insulation against drawing 4 reds. Glint, we already talked about. Hit and Run, these are rarely played, but, you know, sometimes this card is one of the staple cards because it gives Go Again if you need it. Blue Iron Song, sometimes you just need to get over by 1. Sometimes you run out of red Iron Song responses and you don't have energy. So Singing Steel Blade into Blue Iron Song is a play that is sometimes made. Out for Blood, this card is this card is very rarely played, but like I said, sometimes just +1 is all you need. Blue Overpower is very, very nice value if you have an extra blue. And Blue Warrior's Valor, similar to Hit and Run, very rarely played, but if you need to, you can play it in a pinch. All right, so that is the deck. I would like to talk about some cards that I'm not including because I'm probably going to get questions about that. So I already talked about the second run through. I don't want yellows. I don't want too many yellows, and I don't need that much Go Again. The Blue Blade Flash blocks for 2, doesn't block for 3, and again, I have too much Go Again. Iron Song Determination. This is a card that is not really needed at the moment. Uh, they're either your opponents either have enough armor or uh, they don't really care about. Iron Song Determination is actually very, very bad value. Even if you get 3 hits off, it just gave you +3, which is like a Sharpened Steel. Yes, it combines nicely with Glistening Steel Blade, but then you need a blue, you need a pump, and it's just given how much armor there is right now, it rarely does anything except at the very, very end of the game, where I just don't think you need it right now. I would highly advise not to play Iron Song Determination. It's also a yellow, which messes up your ratios. Right now, I really, really feel like this is like the maximum amount of yellows I want to play. Right now, we're at 6. As soon as you start going to 7 or 8, things just, your chance of drawing 2 yellows is really high and over the course of the game, and it's just not good enough. Oftentimes you want them to block. So when you Iron Song Determination, you're either going to get the fridge or you're going to get no blocks from them. And unless it's literally Glistening Steel Blade into Iron Song Determination, it's not really good enough. Like, or Supremacy into Determination. And it's just not a high enough impact card, even if you get 3 hits off on it. So that's why I don't play Iron Song Determination. There is no red shunt, blue shunt. The blue shunt was basically for Ira. Ira's not a huge part of the metagame. Red shunt, is way too narrow, and you're really only running the tunic in the Icelander matchup, so I don't really think red shunt's great. There's no Sigil of Solace in this deck because Kano's very strong, yes, but I feel like with these additions here, you can just kind of go for him and just kill him. The Sigil was nice, but it's just something we just have to live without. Yellow Warrior's Valor, again, I used to play that when there wasn't run through and glistening, but now there is, so Yellow Warrior's Valor is out. Razor Reflex, I feel like there's a very nice balance between attack reactions and go again right now, and the Razor Reflex blocks for 2. I really don't like things that block for 2, so that's why Razor Reflex is not in there. All right, again, if you want the list, here you go. Let's take a look at some stats here. This is the Fabry website. I've just started to use it. Quite interesting. So yeah, as I had said before, every card in the deck basically except the E-Pot and the Sinks block for 3. This gives you very, very consistent defense, especially with your armor. You have essentially 29 health. The ratio of the deck is 26-14. This gives you a nice balance between threats and your energy base, as well as this gives you enough power to play against the wizards as well. Most things in the deck cost 0 or 1. Obviously, the 2 cost things are the Route and Nourishing, and the 3 cost things are the Overpowers. Over here, you can see the hand draw probabilities. If you want to take a look at that, go ahead. But yeah, that concludes the deck tech. Yeah, Dorinthea is in a very, very nice spot right now. Very, very solid hero that I think a lot of you guys would be. This deck just teaches you how to play Flesh and Blood at its core level. You get to utilize the whole turn phase, and this deck's just in a very, very nice position right now. I think a skilled pilot has game against everything at the moment. Yeah. All right, that's the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah. So this has been Josh with TheCardGuyz. I hope you're having a good day. All right, I'm out. See ya.